Grandfather's girlfriend's daughter moved in, took over our house, claimed everything was hers, and gloated about it. Only to find out she has no legal claim. Hey Reddit, I'm Joe, 28M, fake name obviously. And I'm about to spill the tea on how my grandfather's girlfriend's daughter thought she was going to inherit everything after his death. My grandmother bailed on my grandfather way before I was even born. It was the summer of '75. And my granddad was off being a badass in the military, Vietnam to be specific. My mom and aunt were stuck in some fancy boarding school in New England. Probably learning how to be proper ladies or some outdated crap like that. Meanwhile, Grandma decides to pull a disappearing act with some random guy she fell for at the country club. My grandfather, sweating his ass off in the jungle, fighting for his country. And my grandma's back home sipping martinis and playing footsie with the tennis instructor. Classy, right? One day, she just up and left. Grabbed what she could carry. Which, according to family, included my grandfather's prized Rolex. And a good chunk of the family jewelry. And ghosted. No note, no phone call, nothing. Just poof, gone. Now, my grandfather, total sweetheart. When he finally got word of what happened. Because apparently the military isn't great about passing on, "Hey, your wife left you," messages. He just let her go. Didn't try to track her down. Didn't contest the divorce when it finally came through. That's just the kind of guy he was. If she's happier without me, he told my mom years later. Then I want her to be happy. I know, saint material. So, Mom and Annie come home from their fancy prep school for summer break. Expecting the usual family vacation to Martha's Vineyard. Or whatever rich people did back then. Instead, they find their world turned upside down. No mom, a dad who's still overseas, and a whole lot of questions. Granddad came home as soon as he could. But the damage was done. My mom was 15, my aunt 13. And suddenly they're dealing with abandonment issues. On top of regular teenage drama, fun times. But here's where my grandfather really showed his true colors. He stepped up in a big way. Retired from the military. Yanked the girls out of that harsh boarding school. And decided to raise them himself in our big-ass family mansion, no less. Yeah, we've got that generational wealth thing going on, old money, big house. Now, raising 2 teenage girls as a single dad in the late 60s. That's no joke. But Granddad, he rocked it. Learned to braid hair. Suffered through explanations of menstrual cycles. And even attempted to give the talk. Mom says that last one was hilariously awkward for everyone involved. He made sure they had everything they needed, materially and emotionally. Encouraged them to pursue their dreams. Stood up to the country club snobs who tried to gossip about the poor abandoned girls. And generally just loved them fiercely and unconditionally. Fast forward a bit. And both sisters get hitched in this massive double wedding. I'm talking hundreds of guests, a cake taller than I am now, the works. And get this, they even stayed in the big mansion with their husbands. Talk about keeping it in the family, right? Those were the good years, from what I've been told. The house was full of laughter, love, and the chaos of 2 young couples starting their lives together. Granddad was in his element. Playing the doting father-in-law and eagerly anticipating grandkids. Now brace yourselves because this is where shit gets real dark. When I was 8, my parents and my aunt and uncle decided to go on this adults-only road trip. A second honeymoon for both couples, they called it. They left me and my twin cousins, Zoe and Wendy, with Granddad. I remember the day they left so clearly. Mom was wearing this flowy sundress, her hair up in a messy bun. She knelt down to hug me goodbye. Dad ruffled my hair, told me to be good for Granddad. Aunt Hannah and Uncle Henry were there too, all smiles and excitement for their trip. They piled into the car, this big shiny SUV Dad had just bought. Waving and blowing kisses as they drove away. That was the last time I ever saw them. 3 days into their trip, we got the call. Car accident, head-on collision with a drunk driver. None of them made it. And because the universe has a sick sense of humor. My mom was pregnant. Yeah, I lost a brother I never even got to meet. Life's a bitch like that, doesn't care who it screws over. I remember Granddad sitting us down to tell us. His hands were shaking so bad he could barely hold his coffee cup. He tried to be strong for us, but I saw the tears in his eyes. That's when it really hit me, they were gone, really, truly gone. From that point on, it was just me, Zoe, Wendy, and Granddad against the world. And let me tell you, those first few years were rough. I was too young to fully grasp what had happened. But my cousins, they went off the deep end. Zoe stopped eating, just stopped. She'd push her food around her plate, take a bite or two if Granddad really pushed. But that was it. She lost so much weight that first year, it was terrifying. Wendy went the other way. She'd fly into these uncontrollable rages, screaming and throwing things. She broke so many dishes that Granddad eventually switched us all to plastic plates and cups. It was safer that way. They both refused to go to school. They'd cry and scream and throw up from anxiety if we tried to make them go. Granddad, bless his heart, was too soft to force them. He just understood. They missed a whole year of school. But he got them into therapy and did everything he could to help them heal. Me, I was the quiet one. I'd curl up in my dad's old armchair, hugging his sweater. It still smelled like him for a while, and just exist. I didn't cry much, didn't act out. I think that worried Granddad more than anything. But you know what, through it all, Granddad was our rock. He'd sit with Zoe for hours, coaxing her to eat just one more bite. He'd hold Wendy when she was angry, let her scream herself hoarse against his chest. And me, he'd read to me every night. Even though I was too old for bedtime stories. Said it was as much for him as it was for me. Eventually, Zoe and Wendy came around. They realized that no amount of kicking and screaming was going to bring our parents back. So they switched gears and started taking care of Granddad. As much as he took care of us. And you know what, despite everything, those years were pretty damn perfect. We had our own little world with no issues. And more love than we knew what to do with. Granddad made sure we never felt like orphans. He was our rock, our guiding light, our everything. We had our routines, you know. Sunday brunches where we'd all pitch in to make this massive spread. Movie nights where we'd argue over what to watch. Granddad always voted for old westerns, which we vetoed every time. Summer vacations where we'd pile into the car and just drive. No destination in mind, just us and the open road. Granddad was always there for the big moments. He cheered the loudest at our graduations. Helped us move into our college dorms. And was the first person we called with good news or bad. I remember this one time, I thought a girl was going to kiss me at a school dance. I was so nervous, I was practically vibrating. So I puckered up like an idiot, I squeezed shut. Turns out she just wanted to tell me that I had a piece of an apple stuck on my teeth. I came home in tears, certain my life was over. Teenage dramatics. Granddad listened to the whole story, nodded sagely. And you know what he said? It's her loss, kiddo. You deserve someone who'd kiss the lipstick off your teeth. I mean, come on, how cool is that? That was Granddad in a nutshell. Always knew the right thing to say, always had our backs. He wasn't perfect. Sometimes he'd get this faraway look in his eyes. And we knew he was thinking about Mom and Dad. But he was pretty damn close. Now here's where things start to go south. When I was 15, Granddad started going to these bingo nights at the local senior center. Said he needed to get out and socialize with people his own age. We were cool with it, guy deserves some fun, right? Well, turns out he found more than just bingo. He fell in love with this woman, let's call her Marilyn. Plot twist, she was my English teacher's mother, small world, huh? At first, we were happy for him. They had history, went to high school together, were best friends back in the day. So when they reconnected, it was like, bam, instant connection. He'd come home from their dates with this goofy grin on his face. Whistling old love songs. It was cute, in a gross old people in love kind of way. Marilyn started coming around more often. At first, she seemed nice enough. Baked us cookies, tried to be all grandmotherly. But then, oh boy, she started trying to parent us. It started small, comments about our clothes. Don't you think that skirt's a bit short, dear? Suggestions about our diets. You know, when I was your age, we didn't eat all this processed food. But it escalated quickly. Suddenly, there were rules. No skirts above the knee, no midriff-bearing tops. No junk food in the house. And get this, she believed in spanking. Yeah, you heard that right. This old bat thought it was okay to hit us for every little thing she didn't like. I'll never forget the first time she tried it on me. I'd come home late from a study group. And she was waiting up. Started lecturing me about responsibility and respect. And then, I kid you not, she tried to bend me over her knee. Me, a 16-year-old girl. I jumped back so fast I knocked over a lamp. The crash brought Granddad running. And oh man, the look on his face when he realized what was happening. That was the angriest I'd ever seen him. He and Marilyn had this huge blow-up fight. And I thought for sure that'd be the end of it. But nope, she apologized, said she'd overstepped. Promised it wouldn't happen again. And Granddad, bless his heart, believed her. He was so desperate for companionship. So afraid of being alone, that he let it slide. Of course, she never pulled this crap in front of Granddad again. Oh no, around him, she was all sweetness and light. A regular little angel with her casseroles and her Bible reading. But the moment he was out of earshot, it was like living with a drill sergeant crossed with a fire and brimstone preacher. As if this woman wasn't bad enough. Her daughter, remember my English teacher, and now step-aunt, Monica, moved in after a year to help out. Let me tell you, this woman was a whole new level of evil. In school, she was professional enough, I guess, strict but fair. But at home, total witch. She'd give me lower grades if I so much as looked at her wrong. And unlike her mother, she didn't even try to hide her nastiness from Granddad. I remember this one time, I'd worked my ass off on this big English project. Stayed up late for weeks, really poured my heart into it. When I got it back, it had a C scrolled across the top in angry red ink. I was devastated. I showed it to Granddad, and he was furious. Stormed right up to Monica and demanded an explanation. You know what she said? I have to be harder on Joe to avoid accusations of favoritism. Yeah, because apparently giving your family member fair grades is favoritism. But deliberately tanking them is totally cool. Granddad tried to reason with her, but did she listen? Hell no. She'd just get this smug little smirk on her face. And say something like, I'm the education professional here, I know what I'm doing. It got so bad that we started going hungry. They'd lock us in the garage for days, no food, no phones, nothing. All because we were on them the entire damn day. I mean, what the actual fuck, who does that to kids? I remember one time, Zoe got caught sneaking food up to her room. Marilyn and Monica flipped out, said she was hoarding. And that it showed a lack of trust in God's provision. They made her kneel on rice for hours as punishment. Fucking rice in the 21st century. But here's the kicker, we couldn't complain to Granddad. Every time we tried, Marilyn would intercept us. She'd pull the poor me routine. Saying how hard she was trying to be a good grandmother. How ungrateful we were. And Granddad, he was so blindly in love. So desperate to believe that he'd found happiness again. That he bought it hook, line, and sinker. We were trapped, watching helplessly as these two women slowly took over our lives. It was like living in some twisted Cinderella story. Except there was no fairy godmother coming to save us. Granddad tried, I'll give him that. He'd intervene when things got really bad. But Marilyn had him wrapped around her finger. She'd cry and wail about how she was just trying to help. And how we were making it so difficult for her to be part of the family. And Granddad, bless his heart, would fall for it every damn time. I remember this one Christmas. Wendy had saved up all year to buy Granddad this beautiful watch. Nothing super fancy, but it was engraved and everything. She was so excited to give it to him. But when the big day came, Marilyn, accidentally, knocked it off the table. The face shattered, and Wendy was devastated. Instead of comforting Wendy, Marilyn had the audacity to lecture her about materialism and how true love doesn't need expensive gifts. Meanwhile, Monica smirked in the background, probably thinking about the overpriced sweater she'd gotten Granddad. It was moments like these that made me realize how truly fucked up our situation was. We were living in our own home, with our own grandfather. And yet we felt like unwanted guests. When I turned 21, and the twins hit 23, we'd had enough. We couldn't take another day of Marilyn's passive-aggressive comments, or Monica's outright hostility. So we did what any sane person would do. We got the hell out of Dodge. We found this tiny apartment in the city center. And when I say tiny, I mean it. Pretty sure it used to be a large closet that someone slapped a kitchenette into. But you know what, it was ours. No Marilyn telling us what to wear. No Monica grading our every move. It was freedom, and it was glorious. We still visited Granddad, of course, we loved him despite everything. But those visits were tense, to say the least. Marilyn would hover, always finding some reason to interrupt our conversations. Or rush us out the door. "Oh, your grandfather needs his rest," she'd say. Even if Granddad was in the middle of telling us a story. Monica was worse, she'd make these little digs constantly. "Oh, Joe, that outfit is interesting. I guess that's what's fashionable for people in your situation." Or, "Zoe, dear, have you thought about going back to school? I hear community colleges are very accommodating these days." I swear, if eye-rolling burned calories, I'd have been a supermodel after those visits. But we put up with it for Granddad's sake. He seemed happy, or at least he seemed to think he was happy. And after everything he'd done for us, how could we take that away from him? Then, miracle of miracles, Marilyn kicked the bucket. Heart gave out in her sleep. I know it's mean, but good riddance, honestly, she was a menace. The funeral was a real piece of work. Monica sobbing dramatically, going on and on about what a saint her mother was. Meanwhile, Zoe, Wendy, and I are in the back trying not to high-five each other. Is that terrible? Probably. Do I care? Not even a little bit. Granddad took it hard, though. He cried at her funeral, talked about how much he loved her. For his sake, we put aside our feelings and took care of him. Zoe even stayed with him for a month to make sure he was okay. It was during this time that we started to see glimpses of our old Granddad again. The one who'd laugh at our jokes and tell us stories about his army days. The one who'd sneak us cookies before dinner and wink conspiratorially. It was like Marilyn had cast some sort of spell over him. And now that she was gone, it was finally breaking. Here's where things get sketchy. Aunt Monica didn't move out after her mom died. Oh no, she dug her claws in deeper. She stayed, supposedly, taking care of Granddad. We'd visit a couple times a month, and he always seemed fine. But she never let us stay more than a day. At first, we didn't think much of it. We were just happy to have some time with Granddad without Marilyn's constant interference. But looking back, I can't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Granddad started to look tired. Not just old man tired, but bone-deep exhausted. He'd forget things, little stuff at first, like where he put his glasses. But then it was bigger things. He called me Hannah once, my mom's name. That scared the hell out of me. We tried to talk to Monica about it, but she'd always brush us off. He's fine, she'd say, I'm taking good care of him, better than you ever did. The audacity of this woman, I swear. And then, just a year after Marilyn passed, Granddad died too. They said it was complications from diabetes. Something called hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, HHS. It's this super serious condition where your blood sugar goes through the roof. But here's the thing. Granddad had a strict meal plan and medication regimen to prevent exactly this kind of thing. So how the hell did it happen? Was he binge eating? Did he stop taking his meds? Or was someone messing with his care? I'm trying to give Aunt Monica the benefit of the doubt. But it's hard, you know, especially given what happened next. Now we're at the funeral, where this whole mess started. Turns out Granddad never got around to writing that will he kept talking about. And Monica, in her infinite wisdom, assumed that meant she'd inherit everything. I mean, the balls on this woman. She'd known Granddad for what, 5 years? Meanwhile, we'd lived with him our entire lives. He raised us, for crying out loud. But in Monica's twisted little mind, that meant nothing. That's when this absolute piece of work, my step-aunt Monica, decides it's the perfect time to create a scene. And I'm not talking about a quiet sob or a heartfelt eulogy. No, this woman had the audacity to rub my grandfather's death in our faces. Acting like she was the only one who'd lost someone. She stands up during the open mic part of the service. Mascara running down her face in black streaks, probably for dramatic effect. And starts wailing about how she was Daddy's little girl. And how he left her all alone in this cruel world. Mind you, this woman is pushing 50. And has never once called my grandfather Daddy before this moment. But wait, it gets better. In the middle of her theatrics, she turns to us, points a bony finger, and blurts out, and I quote, "You ungrateful brats won't even get a penny. He left everything to his devout daughter." Yeah, she actually called herself his devout daughter. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. When she made her little announcement at the funeral, I saw red. I was ready to leap across the pews and strangle her with her own pearl necklace. But my sweet, quiet cousin Zoe burst out laughing. It started as a giggle, then grew into a full-blown belly laugh. Wendy and I looked at her like she'd lost her mind. But then we got it, the sheer absurdity of the situation hit us. And we lost it too. There we were, at our beloved grandfather's funeral, howling with laughter while this grown-ass woman threw a temper tantrum in front of everyone. It was ridiculous, it was inappropriate. And it was exactly what we needed. Because here's the beautiful part. Monica has absolutely no legal claim to anything. She's not biologically related, was never legally adopted. And even her mother died before Granddad. She's literally just been squatting in our house this whole time. When we pointed this out, you should have seen her face. It was like watching a computer blue screen in real time. Her jaw dropped, her eyes bugged out. And for a solid 10 seconds, she just stood there, gaping like a fish out of water. The rest of the funeral goers were shocked into silence. You could have heard a pin drop in that church. And then, because the universe has a sense of humor, someone's phone went off with the Price is Right fail sound. I lost it, we all lost it. Monica stormed out of the church, face red as a tomato. Last I saw, she was screeching at her car, trying to jam her keys into the door handle instead of the lock. Karma's a bitch, ain't it? Yesterday, if you can believe it, this woman had the nerve to invite me over to my own damn house. Which she's still living in rent-free, by the way. To try and smooth things over. She wants me to forget her actions at the funeral and warm up to her. Yeah, right, like that's going to happen. I went, because I'm an idiot who apparently enjoys torturing myself. The house looked different. All of Granddad's things were gone. Replaced by this weird, sterile decor. That looked like it came straight out of a HomeGoods clearance sale. It made my heart hurt, seeing all traces of him erased like that. Monica tried to play nice, offered me tea in Granddad's favorite mug. The one that said, "World's Best Grandpa," that we got him years ago. The sight of her using it made me want to throw up. She spent an hour trying to convince me that she deserved the inheritance. Talked about how she'd sacrificed so much to take care of Granddad in his final years. How she was practically his daughter. I sat there, nodding and smiling. All while imagining various ways to kick her out on her bony ass. So here I am, Reddit, trying to figure out how to kick this leech out of my family's home. I can't believe she didn't realize how screwed she was before now. I mean, how dense can you get? Any ideas on how to evict this parasite? I'm all ears. Because this house belongs to me and my cousins. And I'll be damned if I let her steal one more thing from us. Thanks for reading this far, if you made it. It feels good to get it all out there. And hey, if nothing else, at least we can all laugh at Aunt Monica's spectacular cell phone, right? Edit. To the person who suggested I accidentally release a family of raccoons into the house to drive Monica out. I appreciate the creativity. But I'm glad we didn't have to resort to that. Though I'd still pay good money to see Monica try to wrangle a family of trash pandas. Update 1. Hey Reddit, it's your favorite disinherited granddaughter back with some updates. First off, I want to address some of the comments from my last post. To those of you who think I'm not grieving enough, or that I'm just after my grandfather's money, kindly take a long walk off a short pier. You don't get to dictate how I process my grief. And frankly, you don't know jack about my relationship with my grandfather. For those wondering why I didn't notice my granddad's health declining, well, hindsight's 2020, isn't it? The man was a stubborn old goat, and I say that with all the love in the world. He was the type to insist he was fine, even if he was actively on fire. Classic greatest generation stoicism, you know. And Monica, that paragon of virtue, can you taste the sarcasm? Never breathed a word about any health issues. Guess we know why now, huh? And to the special snowflake accusing me of using my grandfather for internet clout or money. You can respectfully stop reading right now. One thing I'm absolutely certain of is that the house is mine. It's been in my family for generations. And I'll be damned if I let some Johnny-come-lately gold digger get her claws into it. Now on to the meat of this update. Remember Monica's little performance at the funeral? Well, turns out one of my cousins, I'm betting on the twins. They've always had a flair for the dramatic. Decided to immortalize it on video. And wouldn't you know it, the internet did its thing. The video's gone viral. And Monica's found herself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joe, isn't that a bit harsh? Maybe, but let me tell you, this is just karma coming back to bite Monica and her bony behind. My cousins have been pulling pranks on her since day one. And honestly, she had it coming. Let me tell you about this absolutely wild prank that the twins pulled on Monica a while back. It's relevant, I promise. And it'll give you an idea of just how creative my family can be when provoked. So, there was this rumor floating around. That Monica and our high school principal, Mr. Phillip, had a thing going on back in the day. The twins, being the devious little gremlins they are, decided to have some fun with this information. They hacked into Monica's email. Don't ask me how, I prefer plausible deniability. And started sending her messages. Supposedly from her long-lost love, Principal Phillip. These emails were works of art, let me tell you. Flowery declarations of undying love, promises of rekindled romance, the works. And Monica, she ate it up like it was her last meal. For weeks, the twins kept this charade going. They'd craft these elaborate stories about why Phillip couldn't meet her in person yet. Always dangling the promise of a reunion just out of reach. And Monica, bless her desperate little heart, fell for it hook, line, and sinker. The day of the big reunion arrives. And Monica's all dolled up in this god-awful tweed jacket and pencil skirt combo. I swear her fashion sense is straight out of a 1950s secretarial college. She steps out of the house, only to find Zoe and Wendy doubled over in laughter. The look on her face when she realized she'd been had? Priceless, absolutely priceless. And because my cousins are nothing if not thorough, they posted all the emails on Instagram and sent them to the school meme page. Yeah, Monica became a laughingstock overnight. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that a bit mean? Maybe, but after years of her petty tyranny and emotional abuse, it felt like justice, petty, hilarious justice. Since the funeral video went viral, Monica's life has taken a nosedive. The community that once praised her for taking care of Granddad now can't stand the sight of her. Her job at the school is hanging by a thread. Turns out students aren't too keen on having a teacher who publicly gloats about disinheriting her dead partner's grandkids. Who would have thought? I'm trying to be the bigger person here, I really am. I didn't mean for this to completely upend her life. But you know what? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Maybe this will teach her that actions have consequences. That's all for now. Update 2. Hey again, Reddit, it's been about 3 weeks since my last update. And boy, do I have a crapload of important details for you. Buckle up, buttercups, because this ride's about to get bumpy. Remember how I said Granddad never got around to writing that will? Well, turns out I was wrong, at least according to Monica. She showed up at my apartment the other day. looking like the cat that ate the canary. Smugly handed over this printed document, complete with what's supposed to be Granddad's signature. According to this magical piece of paper, everything, the house, the assets, probably his collection of novelty ties for all I know, belongs to her now. I'm not going to lie, this threw me for a loop. Granddad was always super protective of the family legacy, especially the house. The idea that he'd just hand it all over to someone who's basically a stranger. It doesn't add up. And here's the kicker. He always said he'd only write the will if we were all present. Said he wanted it to be a family thing, you know. So the fact that this supposedly happened without any of us knowing. Red flag city, population, this entire situation. I'm trying really hard not to jump to conclusions here. Maybe he was really sick towards the end. Maybe his handwriting got shaky. But you know what, I've spent years perfecting my granddad's signature for permission slips. Sorry, Granddad. And this ain't it, Chief. Now, I may be a lot of things, but a pushover isn't one of them. I wasn't about to hand over my family's legacy without a fight. So I channeled my inner Sherlock Holmes and got to work. First stop on the investigation train, a signature expert. Thank God for Wendy and her lawyer connections. I sent this guy a copy of the will's signature, along with an old report card I had lying around. The verdict: not a match. Cue the dramatic music. Folks, we've got ourselves a fake. Next, I cornered Monica about the witness. Because you need a witness for a will, right? That's like will writing 101. Her response? Oh, she witnessed it herself, how convenient. When I pressed her on why we weren't there, she had the nerve to guilt trip me. Apparently, we were always too busy for our poor, dying grandfather. Nice try, Monica, but I'm not biting. Finally, I reached out to Granddad's lawyer. Fun fact, I'm dating his daughter. Say congrats in the comments, guys. Anyway, this lawyer had zero knowledge of any will. He found this extremely suspicious, given that Granddad wouldn't even jaywalk without legal counsel. The lawyer even went as far as to say that if Granddad did write this will on his own, he'd push for charges of elder abuse and exploitation. Because, let's face it, if Granddad signed this, he clearly wasn't in his right mind. So there you have it, folks. 3 pieces of evidence, all pointing to one conclusion. This will is about as real as Monica's natural hair color. Seriously, no one's buying that you're a natural redhead at 50, Mel. Now, I know I've been patient. I've given her the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to be the bigger person. But you know what, enough is enough. It's time to kick this leech out of my family home. So, here's where I need your help, Reddit. How do I go about this? I'm open to all suggestions, from the legal to the creative. Just kidding, lawyers have read it. I'm definitely not asking for advice on how to commit crimes, wink wink. In all seriousness, though, I'm at a loss. This woman has wormed her way into my family, taking advantage of my grandfather in his final days. And now she's trying to steal my inheritance. I'm angry, I'm hurt, and I'm ready to fight. Update 3. Hello, my lovely Reddit fam. It's been about 5 weeks since my last update. And boy, do I have a story for you. First things first, we did it, Reddit. Monica is out of the house. And when I say out, I mean out. Like all her crap is on the lawn, and the locks have been changed, out. But let me back up and give you the full scoop. After my last post, I took your advice seriously, thank you all. And went full legal mode. I confronted Monica with all the evidence we'd gathered about the fake will. I wish I could say she broke down and confessed. But nope, she doubled down, insisting the will was legit, and that we were the ones trying to cheat her. So I did what any rational, slightly pissed off granddaughter would do. I gave her an ultimatum. Either she packs her bags and leaves voluntarily, or I take her to court for fraud, elder abuse, and probably a few other charges my lawyer was itching to throw at her. I gave her a month to find a new place. Because despite everything, I'm not completely heartless. But here's where things take a darker turn. Granddad was pretty paranoid and had cameras all over the house. We kind of forgot about it until recently. And well, as soon as we had full access to the property, we checked those cameras. And oh my god, the footage we found was. It was heartbreaking, infuriating. It made me want to throw up and punch something at the same time. We saw Monica force feeding Granddad rice and sugary foods. The exact things his diabetes made dangerous for him. This had been going on for months. Right up until his body couldn't take it anymore. The audio was even worse. The way she spoke to him, the things she said. I can't even repeat them here. It was emotional abuse, plain and simple. She threatened to stop letting us visit. To send him to a nursing home if he didn't comply with her demands. My strong, proud grandfather, reduced to this. I keep thinking about all the times we spent together. In that old, rusty, dusty kitchen. He taught me how to cook, passing down family recipes that have been in our family for generations. I shouldn't have left him alone with that witch. I shouldn't have let him feel like he couldn't tell us everything. I feel like such a fool now that I know the truth. But you know what, we're not letting Monica get away with this. We're pressing charges, elder abuse, fraud, the works. The evidence is overwhelming. And our lawyer says it's pretty much an open and shut case. Oh, and remember how Monica's job was hanging by a thread? Well, consider that thread snipped. We sent copies of the security footage to the school board. Needless to say, they weren't thrilled about having an elder abuser on staff. She's out on her ear. And from what I hear, the parents are raising hell about their kids being taught by someone so morally bankrupt. So here we are. Monica's out of the house, out of a job, and facing some serious legal consequences. The house is back in the family, where it belongs. And me, I'm processing, grieving, angry as hell. But also relieved that the truth is out. I know this isn't the happily ever after ending we all hoped for. In a perfect world, Granddad would still be here, puttering around in his garden and telling his terrible dad jokes. But at least now we have justice. At least now we know the truth. To everyone who's followed this saga, offered advice, and sent support, thank you. You've been a lifeline through all of this. I couldn't have done it without you. So, I guess this is it, the final chapter in our inheritance drama. Stay gold, Reddit. And remember, family is precious. Hold your loved ones close. And never, ever let a Monica into your life. Peace out, and thanks for everything.